Hey guys, my name is Talisha, and this video is a video that I promised to my Instagram followers. However, a lot of people that wanted to know this information, they are not on Instagram. So for that reason, I am making a YouTube video. So if you know anyone that will benefit from the information in this video, you could simply share the link with them. So this video is about New York City affordable housing. So what I did advise a lot of my followers that way too many people are not taking advantage of the 80/20 programs, which is a low-income housing tax credit programs in New York City. These programs are in other states, but I'm speaking namely for New York City because that's a program that I'm familiar with. So today I'm giving you a overview of the application process. I'll make another video regarding what to do when you're contacted. So again, please note, first of all, get a pen and a paper because you're gonna want to note this information, and as I mentioned before, you're gonna want to share this information with someone you know, because what I'm about to tell you is exclusive. I've worked for many developers doing lease ups for affordable housing, so I've processed thousands of applications. So this is like first-hand information in my capacity in leasing. You know, I work with estate agencies just to get these applications approved. But I want to bless people with this information because I processed applications for about 6 years, and to be honest with you, I've only come across one person from the island that applied. Well, that's my experience. So what I got from that is, one, either a lot of people from the island are not familiar with this, or two, they're just not sure about the details of the program, so they don't want to take that chance to apply. So I'm doing this video really especially for people from the island because way too many people from the island do not take advantage of these tremendous opportunities. But again, this video could benefit anyone. If you live in New York City and you are not a homeowner, this is the best way to go. And they have low-income programs. There's also middle-income programs. Again, if you're not a homeowner, make sure you're taking advantage of these amazing affordable housing programs. A lot of these buildings are luxury buildings. What the low-income housing tax credit program is, it's an 80/20 program, and I'm talking about rent stabilized building. So 80% of the building is allocated to market rate units, and the other 20% is allocated to low income. So for for the most part, the same unit type, you're paying a lower rent than the person with the apartment next to you is paying. I mean, people always say, well, there's differences. The differences are so minimal that it's not even worth saying I'm not gonna apply. So truly, I want everyone to take advantage of this. I preach this to my friends every day because when I did leasing and I walked in some of those apartments, I'm like, wow, I wish I could apply. You know, a lot of these apartments for the most part are brand new buildings because a lot of developers, in order for them to get land space in New York City, they have to agree to allocate a certain percentage to low-income families. So majority of these new developments are 80/20. So take advantage. A brand new unit in New York City, that's a very rare opportunity. And in a luxury building, most of these buildings have doormans. There's amenities, just a lot to offer, a different quality of life. A lot of them are in great neighborhoods, so we're talking about a tremendous school district. So there's a lot of benefits for you and your family, but let's get into it. And I'll tell you more as I go along. I made a few notes, so you'll see me look down from time to time because I don't want to miss anything because I'm giving you guys exclusive everything because I want this to be a blessing. And please, if you do apply and you're eligible and you get one of these apartments, comment below. Let me know how your experience was. I always get excited about that. When I did leasing, a lot of families, they're just so tremendously grateful. So share your experience with me. So let's get into it. First order of biz is you need to have an account on the Housing Connect website. So if you visit www.nyc.gov/Housing Connect, you will get to the website. That's where the application starts, because these apartments, they're lotteries. So it's a selection process. So in order for you to be eligible, or not even to be eligible, in order for you to be in the selection for the lottery, you must create an account on the Housing Connect website. So note the website, and once you arrive there, you'll simply look to the right side of the page. It says to get started, click here to create an account. And you obviously click there and create an account. Okay, this part is critical. You must pay close attention to the information that you're entering, because the information that you're entering here determines if you will even be contacted for a unit that you apply for later on. So it's critical that, one, you enter accurate information, especially, everything should be accurate, but especially your email address. Make sure that you note your correct email address. And I also recommend using an email address that you will likely use in the future. I know a lot of us have multiple email addresses, so I recommend using your your main email address. That way it's very likely that, if you're contacted a few months from now, you will have that email address. So that's important to note. And the other information, obviously your name, security questions. And then you're gonna get to a section to list who you will be living with. Again, this is very important also. Whosoever you put here, they will be a part of your application. If you are not sure about, the person that you're noting there, I'll recommend just not putting it. Because if you note someone here and when you're selected, you're like, oh, for example, if it's your boyfriend, and when you're selected, John was your boyfriend when you applied, but now Paul is your boyfriend. In order, you can't say, oh, well, I want to remove John and put Paul. Well, you can say that. However, it will change the category of your application. So what will happen at that point is then your application will now become low priority, meaning that you'll get bumped to the bottom of the list. So it is critical that you think about who you're putting here very carefully. If you don't foresee living with that person, do not put them there, because the process of removing that person or changing it for another person, it can impact your application. Unless it's a circumstance where it was birth or marriage, that's a little different. But if it's just, oh, John is no longer my boyfriend, Paul is now my boyfriend, your application is going to become low priority. So that's critical. The other thing, your income. Please be sure that you're noting your current income. And if you're not sure of what your income is, either review your offer letter, connect with your employer, but you don't want to just put a random number. Say, for example, you make $30,000. You don't want to say, oh, well, I think it's about 15 or so, because that will also affect your application. So, you may not know your exact salary, but as far as calculation, how the agencies calculate it, but just, go by what your current salary is with your employer. If there's a bonus involved, I would recommend noting that as well. Like, say, if you've been somewhere for 5 years and you typically get a $5,000 bonus and your salary is $30,000, it's fair to say that you can note your salary is $35,000. but just come as close as possible with that, because if you put something and it's far from the brackets, the income brackets for the available unit, you're not going to be contacted. Okay, so once you're done with that section, again, review the information. Make sure that 6 months from now, the information you enter is likely to be close to, what you entered, but you don't want anything too far off. If you're, say, for example, if you're even pregnant, you want to note unborn child on that application. That's critical also. So don't just say, oh, I'm pregnant, but, it's still just my boyfriend and I at this point. You want to note that your household is three. You could enter unborn, because an unborn child will count as a part of your household. So that's also critical. Okay, so once you do that, then you'll go back on the main page where it says search and select affordable housing. So once you get to that page, what that page is pretty much a list of all the lotteries that's available for you to apply for. You will see an application start date, which represent the date that developers started accepting applications. And you'll see the name of the building, the bar it's located in, the neighborhood, and most importantly, you'll see the income requirements, so you could know, the likelihood of you being eligible. So depends, obviously, if you know for sure, okay, I want to live in Brooklyn, so you'll automatically direct your focus to the buildings in Brooklyn. If you're open to live anywhere, I recommend looking at all of them. Just look to see if the building is something that you'll be interested in. You actually, on the advertisement, you could actually see the building. The neighborhood, that's very important. Make sure that neighborhood works for you. And you could even see, once you click on any of these developers, you could see the location, the transportation that's there, everything. It gives you a lot of information. You could see the picture of the building. You could see the amenities that's offered. So you could get a comprehensive view of what you're getting into. So for example, I want to live in Brooklyn. So right now I see that there's a new lottery for Linwood Park Apartments in East New York. That lottery just opened up December 6th, which is great. So what are we? 2 days ago? Not bad. I recommend applying as soon as that lottery opens, because while the agencies say, oh, it's a random selection and a log number is automatically given to you based on a systematic generation, I never buy that. I always say get in there as soon as possible. If the lottery opens December 6th, you want to make sure December 6th you apply immediately. In my opinion, I believe that increase your chances of getting a low log number. However, again, according to the city agencies, it's a computer system and it's a random selection. But my recommendation, apply as soon as possible. Because once you create an account, your information is now in the database. So whichever building you apply for, you will receive a log number, and for each building you'll get a different log number. So you have to treat these separately. All of these buildings that's listed, likely it's different developer, a whole different ballgame. So you are applying to individual buildings. Applying to one doesn't cover everything. So you will literally have to go in, see which one you want to apply for, and once you apply, you will get a log number for that particular developer. So again, I'm looking at the one in East New York. So again, first order of biz, you look at the transportation. And one great thing about these programs, there is no broker fee. No broker fee, no application fee. So you don't have to worry about that. If you are ever, because in my experience, I always get calls from people that's applying, say, oh, a broker contacted me and they're trying to charge me. No. apply directly. There's no broker fee involved, no application fee. The only fee there is a credit and background check fee, and the agency actually just changed that requirement where now as the applicant can actually provide a credit report. Before, that was not a thing. Before, it was $25 per person, but they changed it, I believe, August 1st. So now applicants have the opportunity to provide their own credit report. So that's a great thing. Okay, so you look at the building, you look at the location, the transportation. Is that feasible for me? You know, me personally, I'll look up the school district. Just so if you're someone with, you know, with a family, you want to look up or looking to start a family, you want to look up the school district, because to be honest with you, once you get in one of these affordable housing building, it's very unlikely that you're gonna move until you're ready to buy. So you want to make sure the location and everything is perfect for you. Okay, so then you go down to the most important part, the income requirements. So it is very critical that you pay attention to this information. So what the main thing you're doing, one, you're looking, okay, I applied. If you're one person, okay, a studio or a 1-bedroom will be sufficient for me. So based on your household size determines the amount of bedroom space that you'll need. So you would first say, okay, do I need to look at the 2-bedroom or the 3-bedroom, or just one person? I just need studio or 1-bedroom. Whatever your household size is, that's the unit size that you should first look at. So you see the unit size, you'll see the monthly rent, you'll see how many units are available. I like to see this because it gives you a better sense of what your chances may be. However, seeing a low amount of units available should not deter you from applying. You never know. If you don't have an application in, then you don't have a chance. But if you have an application in, you have a chance. Okay, so once you look at that, so they show a household size chart. So it's very critical that you align the household size with the annual income requirement. So if you're, say, a household of 2 and you need a 2-bedroom, you then go to the 2-bedroom unit size, and then when you get to household size, you go to 2 people. Because for example, 2-bedroom, it lists the income for 2 people, 3 people, 4, or 5. So you want to make sure you're aligning your household size with the correct income bracket. So for example, this 2-bedroom for $1,309, yes, a 2-bedroom for $1,309 in New York City. Then 2 people, the minimum income requirement is $46,938, and the maximum is $51,200. Okay, what does that mean? So that simple means that the income for your household size of 2 must fit within that income bracket. Your combined income, that is. So that doesn't mean that, oh, this is what one person have to make. Your combined household income would need to fit within that bracket. So for example, if you're making $20,000 and your boyfriend who you're applying with is making $30,000, that's a combined income of $50,000. That combined income will fit within that bracket, and therefore your household would appear to be eligible for this unit. So that's the first good sign, knowing that your income fit or appear to fit within a bracket. There's different ways to calculate income that we do on a developer's end, but you as an applicant, you're kind of making a preliminary determination. So for example, if you make $40,000 and your boyfriend make $40,000, then your combined household income is $80,000, and for this particular unit you will not be eligible because your household combined income exceeds the maximum allowable income. So it's very important for you to first make sure it applies, that it appears that you're eligible. I will say if your income is anywhere from, I like to say, like 5,000 below or 5,000 above. If you're within that range, still apply. Anything over that, it's a little, a little more tricky. But if you're 5,000 below or 5,000 above the maximum, I'll say still apply, because oftentimes a lot of people miscalculate their income. So you never know. Just still apply. Once the developer get information, their team will do the calculation and then determine if you're eligible. I remember one particular developer I worked for, what we kind of gauge the income to say, okay, if your application is, I forgot the number we used, but I believe it was like 7,000 above or below, we'll still contact you, because it's a possibility that you may be eligible. And oftentimes these lotteries could take 6 months, for you to hear back, or even longer. So it really depends, or even less, you never know. So we still typically kind of round it off, and then we contact the applicants. So that's critical to note. So what people always say, okay, what if I'm employed but my boyfriend is not employed? That's completely fine. If your income, and in reference to the same income bracket that I just mentioned, namely 46,938 to 51,200, if you, again, you and your boyfriend are applying, if your income is $50,000 but your boyfriend is unemployed, that's also fine. Your household will still fit within a bracket. Your boyfriend would just have to affirm that he has no income. So there's verification process that goes into that. The next person affirming that they do not have any income. Okay, next question. What is income? It is not just employment. It's not just okay, I'm a W-2 employee. Oh, that's income. Yes, that is income. But if you're self-employed, meaning you receive a 1099 or a K1, that is still income, and it is counted. So also child support count, gift income. So if someone gives you $100 every week, that counts. Unemployment income counts. So if you lost your job but you're receiving unemployment, we do count that. Social Security income counts. Disability income counts. If you're getting a distribution, that counts as well. So there's a lot of different type of income. So it's not just W-2, and there's a lot of different methods of calculating each income. I'll do another video of how we calculate income, because it's a long process. So this is just to get you started. What I want you guys to do after watching this video is create an account and review the lotteries and apply for one that it appears that you'll be eligible for. And then I'll do more videos. I'll do a video on how we calculate income, and I'll also do a video on what to do when you're contacted. Okay, so if it appears that you'll be eligible, great. What you'll simply do is go back to the main screen, because remember we clicked on this particular building to get into this to see the flyer, so we could know what the income brackets are. So if it appears that you're eligible, great. You then go to the main page where it says housing list, and then you hit apply for that developer that it appears that you'll be eligible for. So just please be advised that you do not apply to, when applying for a building, you can apply for a specific unit type. So it's not like, hey, I am applying for a 2-bedroom. No. Once you hit apply, on the back end, we go through everything, and based on the number household members, when it comes to if your application is selected, and then at that point we determine, okay, which unit size it appears that you'll be eligible for. And then in some cases you could be offered a 2 or a 3-bedroom, depending on your household size. So you don't apply for a particular unit, nor do you apply for a particular AMI. That's on the back end. Once you're contacted, then we'll let you know what it appears that you're eligible for. So what AMI is area median income. So very often I get applications where applicants are eligible for 2 different AMIs, which is often great because you could be eligible for a unit that's a bit cheaper, and then say for example you could be eligible for a 40% AMI as well as a 50% AMI. But in the instance where you're eligible for the 40%, but there's no more 40% units for your household size, then you're offered the 50%, and it's up to you if you want to take that 50% unit. I recommend that you take it. I mean, because the chances of you getting a 40 is slim to none. But just to let you know. Okay, so that's the application process. And again, I recommend visiting this website at least, I mean, this may sound crazy to some, but like at least twice per week. Information is always changing. You could just go on tomorrow and see a new developer pop up. It's not like there's an announcement like, hey, we're going to post 3 lotteries tomorrow. No, like you never know when something is going to be posted. So there may be an alert on Housing Connect, I'm not sure, but my recommendation is go in as often as possible. This is affordable housing at a low price. You could get a 1-bedroom for $500-$600 for a low income unit. You could get a studio, like I've seen studios for $400. So it's worth really spending the time to just go and log in to see if anything changed. So I recommend looking at a few different buildings just to see how many you'll be eligible for, and just to increase your chances. But don't just go in, just click and apply without even looking if you're eligible. I mean, it's not productive use of your time, nor is it productive use of the developer's leasing team. So just make sure you always apply to what it appears that you're eligible for. And one thing I wanted to say also, when you're creating your account, there's an option where it asks, how would you like to be contacted? Please, please, please always click email or both. There may be an option for both, email and mail. This is why I say that. Way too often we reach out to applicants who say, oh, we want to be contacted by mail, but guess what? By the time we're up to their application, they moved. So while we're sending them notices in a letter to come in for an appointment, they never get them because they noted that they want to be contacted by mail and they move. So, they did not receive the mail, unless some people's they do mail forwarding or something but for the most part, I've seen way too many unanswered appointment requests because people requested by mail and then they move. Or even if the mail is forwarded, by the time they get it, the deadline passed. Typically, once you get a letter to come in for an appointment, they typically give you 10 business days. 10 business days to gather the documents that you need and come in for an appointment, just so they could make a preliminary determination to see if it appears that you'll be eligible. Let me just check my notes to see if I missed anything. Okay, good. So I'm on track with what I noted. Okay, so again, just apply for a few to increase your chances. If you see a lottery, like I'm looking here, and there's a lottery November 15, which is about 3 weeks ago. Me personally, I don't think it's worth applying for, because at that point you probably get log number 90,000 or something. However, you still can, but from my experience at that point, it's not worth applying for. So that's the application process. Okay, what do I do when I apply? You sit back, you cross your fingers, and whatever you do, for some you pray or whatever you do, and hope that you're selected, because it's a good feeling when you get that email that your application was randomly selected. But once you're in, That's good. You now have to wait. So typically it could take really, I've done a lottery that we took about I think like 2 months to start contacting applicants, but it really varies. It depends on a lot of different factors, but typically it could take 6 months. Typically this process, the entire process, could take even 9 months just to get through the entire process. But don't be discouraged by that, because trust me, that 9 months will be worth it. If you're looking for something immediately, the low income housing tax credit program this is not an immediate process like, oh, I need an apartment next month. If you need an apartment next month, this is not the best option for you. However, if you need an apartment next month, what I recommend that you do is to get your apartment next month, sign a 1-year lease, but still apply on the Housing Connect website. So by the time your lease is up, it's possible that, your application could be selected and now you're in the process for a low income housing apartment that you will literally change your life. So that's my recommendation. If you're in a lease right now and it's up in 6-7 months, this is a great opportunity for you. Still look around at regular options, but certainly apply. You never know. Getting that email is tremendous. So also what you need to do as you wait to be contacted is just kind of start gathering like paperwork. Like say for example next year when you do your taxes, just make sure you know where to locate your taxes, because you're gonna need that information. And other stuff is stuff that you'll gather along. But one thing I want to say, guys, and I struggle with this all the time. Right now, I do real estate compliance, and one of the things I struggle with is in this day of Cash App, and I believe some say Zelle, some say, I don't know, but you guys know Zelle, that one, however you pronounce it. Whatever money transfer, all these free money transfer, what's the other one? It's in my head, but I can't remember it right now. If you use any of those platforms, Cash App, Zelle, and the other one, or even Chase Quick Pay, be sure that if you're receiving money from anyone, please advise them to note why they're sending you this money. Why I say that is one of the biggest things right now, and honestly, when this came into effect, it drove me crazy, because processing these applications, and I have to ask these applicants, oh, why did this person send you $200 every week? Is this gift income? So if you have any reoccurring deposits that's not from your employer, we are going to the developer is going to question it. What is this income for? As I mentioned earlier, one of the sources of income, that we count is gift income. And if someone is sending you $100 every week on the Cash App or whatever platform you use, it begs the question if this is additional income. So a lot of applicants always get so annoyed with this, but I'm like, I'm sorry, but we have to clarify this, because this could be someone paying you for a service that you do, and you probably didn't inform us of that source of income. So this is why we need clarification on what these incomes are, what this income is for. So whenever someone sends you money, I don't know if Cash App have that option as well. I don't have Cash App, but typically there's an option to say the reason for sending the money. Make sure they note that. For example, paying you back for lunch, or paying you to get your giving you money to get your nails done. Make sure they describe it, because if there's no description there, because I believe the description will show on the statement, if there's no description there, just start preparing an Excel spreadsheet on, as to what those monies are for, because whichever the leasing team is going to question that, because again, we need to know if it's additional income. It's tedious. Everyone always get annoyed with me, but it's something that we cannot ignore. Likewise, if you're if you're sending money, that's a little different, but whatever you're receiving, just make sure they know what it's for, because you're gonna go through a hassle with that. And please be honest when you're applying for these programs. Be honest. Do not try to hide income or information. Far too many applicants do that, and then you're rejected for a fraud. Be very transparent, because somewhere, somehow, we're gonna find it. Like, we do compliance, and our goal, or not our goal, but what we do is find these information. So somewhere, somehow, we're gonna find it, and you do not want to be rejected for fraud. So be honest when you're applying. And something else that's very important, and this is especially for people that's not born in America. You do not have to be a citizen of the United States to be eligible for this. I repeat, you do not require a citizenship to be eligible. This is also not Section 8. I'm talking about rent stabilized programs. This is not Section 8. This is a low income housing tax credit. So I know a lot of people always say, oh, they don't want to apply for these things because they feel like, oh, it's assistance from the government and it will affect their eligibility for other stuff. For example, if they're like trying to file for someone, a lot of people probably don't apply. This is what I assume, because it's just unreal to me that a lot of people from the Caribbean do not apply for these programs. So no citizenship is required. This is not going to affect anything regarding you filing for someone. This is not like a government subsidy. It's a low-income housing tax credit program in a rent-stabilized building. So you're just blessed to be paying an affordable rent, and you're just benefiting from affordable housing. This is not Section 8. The program that I'm talking about is not Section 8. There is Section 8 programs, and Section 8 is a subsidy from the government, but living in a low-income apartment, just being eligible based off your income, that's not going to affect anything. You do, however, require a Social Security. So, and why you require a Social Security is because we do a credit and background check. Or again, with the new rules, you could do your own credit and background check, but Social Security is required. We cannot ask anything about for the tax credit program, you cannot be asked anything about your status. Your legal status is not a question that can be asked during your application process. So regardless, whatever your legal status is, as long as you have a Social Security and we could do your credit and background check, you are A-okay. So my people, if that's what's stopping you guys from applying, please just know that you do not require citizenship. So don't miss out on such a tremendous opportunity because of fear of what may happen or the questions that you may be asked. So I just want to put that out there because that's very important to note. Also, just a few other pointers. If you are, I know they just changed the rules, so let me make sure this wasn't changed. Yeah, so now if you have joint custody of a child, say you and your husband separated, in order, let me not use husband. Say if you and your boyfriend, are apart and you guys have a child together, there must be some custody documents to show that you at least have 50% custody of the child in order for that child to be a part of your household. So that's critical to note also. So we need to know the custody agreement. If there's a minor child in the household, there has to be some document showing some level of custody agreement. Like a minor just can't live with a random person without showing any custody agreement. So another very important thing about this program is that if you are a full-time student, there's only 5 circumstances in which you'll be eligible for the program. So typically, and you could look that information up. So if you're a full-time student, you may not be eligible for the program unless you can meet the 5 exemptions of the program. So that's just another thing to note as well. If you're a part-time student, that's fine, no issue. It's just that if you attend school more than 5 calendar months of the year, then you're considered a full-time student, and that could therefore affect your eligibility. Another important thing to note, so if your income, a lot of people always ask me, okay, what if I get in but my income change? If your income change, there's nothing wrong with that. Trust me, I believe when Bill de Blasio created this program, he want people income to increase so their life could be better. So there's nothing affects you if your income change. You're not gonna be kicked out. This is a rent stabilized building, and you cannot be kicked out if your income change. So one of the requirements for the program, however, and it's a bit tedious, but I mean it's once a year. If you're a low income applicant, you are required to recertify your income every year. So what that means is every year you have to go through a process similar to how you applied. Whereas you have to provide income and asset information in order for them to review it. So regardless what your income is at the time of recertification, that have no bearings on anything related to you. Your rent will always be the amount determined based on the increase determined by the Rent Guideline Board. So that's standard across the board for rent stabilized units. So say for example, if you moved in and your rent was $500, and the increase, the Rent Guideline Board increase was 2%. Upon renewal, say 2% for 1 year lease and 3% for 3 year lease as an example. I believe the percentage right now is 1.5 for 1 year and 2.5 for 2 year. Don't quote me on it, but I believe that's what the percentage are right now. But whatever the percentage is, that's the only amount that your rent could increase by. So unlike a market rate apartment, or unlike just you renting from a regular landlord, they can't just, oh, I'm gonna add $500 more. So for rent stabilized building, it's whatever the Rent Guideline Board increase amount is based on a 1 or 2 year lease. That's the only amount that your rent could increase by. So even if your income changed, say the maximum for the unit you applied for was $54,000, and now your income is $60,000. That has nothing to do with you. That's a loss for the landlord, not for you. So you're not gonna be kicked out, and your rent is not gonna drastically increase. And this is one of the things that always, bother me about affordable housing, because people think, oh, they can't better themselves because they have to stay within the income bracket. No, that is not the case. You are supposed to better yourself. You are supposed to increase your quality of life. Your things are supposed to get better. It's not expected that you should remain on the same level that you were when you applied for this program. So no, that is not the case. Nothing will happen to you. And I'm also going to do a video for people living in these rent stabilized buildings, because I remember when I met with residents rather, and I told them that it's almost like they still don't believe me. I'm like, I work here. Like, I'm the compliance manager. Like, I'm telling you, this is not the case. But people are very paranoid when it comes to that. And I feel as though a lot of people don't better themselves because they are afraid that if they make more money, they're gonna have to get kicked out. Okay, so a thought just came to me, and I should have said this from the beginning. For these programs, they have preferences. So before, if you say you apply for a building that's in your neighborhood, right, then you get a community board preference. meaning that say your zip code is 11223 and the building that you're applying for is in zip code 11223 within the same community board, then you will get a community board preference, meaning that after, I believe the first preference is disability, and then the community disability, and then other preferences. So I believe it's a 3% allocation. I don't remember the exact number, but there's a preferences, whereas that means once the developers start the process, they contact people that meet these preferences first, and then they go to GP, which is the general population. So if you apply for a building that's in your community board, you get a preference over the people that is not a part of that community board. To be honest with you, and I'm not saying this to offend anyone, but I am not a fan of the community board preference. And I read an article, I believe a year ago, that they're looking to eliminate that, and I honestly hope that they do. And again, I'm not saying this to offend anyone, but the thing with community board preference, say you already lived in an affordable housing, you already got a chance to get a brand new apartment in a luxury building, right? 3 years later, a building 2 blocks away opens up and you apply for that building to get another new unit in a low income housing. The same AMI, typically the same AMI. My question is how is it that 3 years later you're still able to be eligible for another affordable housing? I feel like community board preferences kind of like deter some people from bettering themselves because they're chasing the new buildings instead of chasing, developing themselves and earning more income. Their thing now becomes, oh, I'm living in a new building with all, these amazing amenities. So that's my reason for not liking community board preference, because one, you already got a chance in a brand new apartment. And then two, it concerns me that 3 years later, you're still qualified for a low income unit. But that's just me again. But I know it's a blessing to some, especially if some who did not have that opportunity before, then great. But for someone who already had that opportunity, it just kind of, it doesn't sit with me well. But that's not my rule to decide. But those are preferences that will benefit you as well. So I hope I did not miss anything. I know a lot of you guys may have questions. I am going to do a live video on Blended Mentors Instagram page. And if you guys have any questions, you could leave it in the comment box below. I will go through them. I know you guys will have questions because it's a lot of information. And I'm sure after I watch this video, I'm like, oh, I should have mentioned that, because it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. But this video is to encourage you to get started. Get started. I'll help you along the way. And I'm doing this for free. Developers pay me to do this. And I'm doing this for free to benefit people, especially people from the island, or people in general who just don't take advantage of these opportunities. Housing is important to me. My background is social work. So when I see tremendous opportunities like this and people are not taking advantage of it, it concerns me. And so this is even the reason why I'm doing a YouTube video. This is actually my first YouTube video. But I say to myself, how can I bless people? I know all this information, I have this experience, and I see how life-changing it is. You have no idea. Like when you get into one of these units, especially for someone who, I get a lot of, wow, I can't believe this is happening to me. I didn't know this was real. I can't believe I was selected. I can't believe how nice these apartments are. Like you have apartments overlooking, you could be on the 20th floor, you could be on the 30th floor. So don't think, oh, you're getting some crappy apartment. No, these are 80-20 rent stabilized luxury building, a different quality of life. So I encourage you, change your quality of life today and take the first step. Like, take the first step and apply, and I will help you along the way. That's the reason I'm doing this video, to give you guys this information so you could better your life. Housing is important, and if you can get one for cheap in New York City, if you are not a homeowner and you have a social security, you have no excuses to like not apply, especially if you're eligible. There's low income programs and there's middle income programs. I mean, the middle income programs can be a bit pricey, but the low income program, it's a steal. So if you are eligible, don't delay, because think about it. If you're not making that much money right now, it's best to get in one of these apartments now, because once you get in your career, once your business start growing, you're not going to be eligible. And if you're not going to be eligible, if you want that luxury building lifestyle, then you have to get a middle income unit or a market rate unit. So why not go in now when your income may not be at a middle income level? Why not go in now? Go in now, save your money, then you buy your house, then you move out of the affordable housing so someone else could benefit from it. Like, that's the goal. Save up your money, because this is New York City. To find an affordable apartment is very difficult. And to find one in a great neighborhood, that's also very difficult. So I encourage you guys, please take advantage of this. Again, visit the Housing Connect website, start the process, leave me comments below with your specific questions. I promise you I will answer all your questions. I'll do a live session on blended mentors. I'm gonna do that before the end of the year. So follow that Instagram page. So that way you don't miss out on it. But leave me comments below, subscribe to my channel so you could get notification of when I'll be doing the next video. And again, I'm sure I missed something, so I'll be sure to advise you of that in the next video. And thank you for watching. Subscribe, share, most of all share this. More than even subscribing, just share this video. I mean, you guys should subscribe, but most importantly, share this video. If this video could bless 100 people, that will mean more to me than 100 subscribers, because housing is important. And especially if you have a family, change your quality of life. Like, don't delay any further. Don't be afraid. Be bold. Put yourself out there and know about these opportunities that's available to you. So share this with a family member and a friend. This is regarding the New York City housing, low-income housing. There's other states that have similar program. I'm sure the process is similar, but I can't speak on those because my experience is not outside of New York City. But I've been doing this for 6 years, and I've worked for major developers, 2 of the highest ranking developers in New York City, and I've done countless luxury buildings, and I've blessed so many families, and it's just been a blessing to me to be a part of their experience. I still get cards from family. I still get countless referrals. Like, their gratitude is just like, it's life-changing for them. So change your life. Share this video. Go on the Housing Connect website. Learn more about low-income housing, affordable housing. And one thing, last thing, do not be discouraged by what you read online, because that's another thing. Far too many people read about the process online and they get discouraged because there's a lot of negative comments. Unfortunately, not all leasing team, oftentimes they're not equipped to handle this process. So there's a lot of mismanagement, and it leaves a bad reflection. A lot of people are like, I'm not applying. This applicant once called me, and when I called them, like, hey, we're up to your application, the first thing she said, I can't go to the doctor right now. So I'm like, I'm sorry? I was so confused. She's like, I read online that I need to get a checkup. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not sure where you read that, but we don't require any checkup medical documents. you know, and she could have missed out on the opportunity simply because what she read online, and you know, it's just not always true. I'm not saying these programs are always smooth sailing, but it's worth it. It's worth it. And in my years of doing this, I always try to make sure it's the best experience for the applicants, because I know housing is sensitive, it's personal, and I don't mess with people in their homes. That's personal for me. So I always try to make applicants have the best experience. That's not always the case for different leasing teams, but don't be discouraged by that. It's worth it. It's worth going through the headache, because once you live in a nice apartment, you're gonna be like, yes, thank God I did it. So I encourage you, apply, and I'll help you with the rest. Thank you for watching this time. You guys have an amazing day, and I will connect with you soon. I will subscribe so you can see when my next video is posted, and I'll post a video on how to calculate the income and what to do when you're contacted. Thank you guys. Have a great day.